Travis Wayne Goodsell. It's conference weekend. This is exactly why the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints ordered YouTube to shut down Travis Wayne Goodsell channel. Notice this is TWG channel. Notice I'm getting a lot of views. Yep. The church does not want you to listen to my information. And the majority of you are new. The majority of you are not returning. So you do not know the information that I am giving. You do not understand why there's a fan in the background. You do not understand that the church has ordered my assassination. And so there are lots of comments of hate from Mormons who have not experienced the mighty change to love. I will do a comment reply video when this is all over with, because to get to all the comments will just take too long. So I'll make it a video in and of itself when this is all over with. You need to understand that Cook is deceiving you in that he used the Joseph Smith papers to claim that everything's confirmed, the church's narrative is true, move on, trust us. Fact check them. Joseph Smith papers are available online. Fact check them. Go to the Joseph Smith history. Who was it that came to Joseph Smith talking about the Egyptian gold plates? What is the name of Joseph's church? And when did it get changed and why? I'm talking about 1834. Section 115 is a prophecy of his. And I'll give you 2 bombshells that Cook avoided. 17 March 1842. You'll need to look at both the text and the minutes. Has to do with the Relief Society. Has to do with the very next session following this one. And then 19 July 1840. The information in there is what all my videos are based upon. Because I've been doing those videos exposing this, the content in that talk, before I even knew the talk. And so when I found the talk, I went, this is it. And Cook does not want you to know what is in that talk. 19 July 1840. Nelson, none of the prophets want you to know what is in that talk. 19 July 1840. And I refer you to the B. There's an A and a B. B. I've done the videos on that, and I'm last time I had to transfer the file over to the other computer to make it the video and upload it. This is the 98th session of General Conference. It is not the 192nd. There is information that they do not want you to know. 19 July 1840. And if you're not sure after reading it, when you get to is it I and is it I, look at the footnote. And those who are working on the footnote, the rough stone rolling guy and Royal Skousen knew to put in the footnote the passage in Mark. It's about the Last Supper and exposing Judas. Joseph Smith prophesies in that talk about many things. And so 2 years from now is the big event that is supposed to conclude the latter days. There are some things that need to be done within 2 years that is freaking me out, because they're not being done, and I'm doing all I can to make sure they get done, and I can't do's no more. And this conference is my last opportunity to reach as many people, as many Mormons as I can, to save your lives. The church, despite all the breakout videos I'm getting for conference, have shut down the one to get your missionaries home. But you notice the theme for these two that Cook summarized? Mission, 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 mission. They want to put your kids in harm's way. They need to come home. This is it. The Exodus is upon us. But we're waiting for the fall of the great and abominable church that Joseph Smith exposes in 19 July 1840. The church doesn't want you to know that information. Brigham Young did not put it in the Doctrine and Covenants because they don't want you to know that information. This is why they have attempted to have me assassinated. My life is at great risk right now, as I'm just trying to share with you the truth, for which I am getting a whole bunch of hate comments. There have been some things before conference, commercials and such. The one before the first session involved a woman who had a social media daily routine that she went over with us, and then she got an inspiration to put her social media away. And oh my goodness, there was somebody else in line at the grocery store. Church is so true. Dear God. But the one for the second session, it was about a teenage girl. And she's a superstar soccer player. Great. Awesome. But I don't know if she's scripted or if this is what she's been taught to believe. She said you get credit for trying. Oh, the younger generation. Where is Star Wars when you need it? Yoda. Do or do not. There is no try. She hasn't read her Book of Mormon, or they gave her a script to read. You must repent in this lifetime. You don't get credit for trying. You have to do it. You have to make that change. And you have to do it before your deathbed. That is a doctrine in the keystone of Mormonism. And apparently she's not getting it, or she's being taught to teach it incorrectly. Whatever the case is and with that situation. And so this is, I think, part of the problem that the prophets are having to deal with boys not going on missions. And thus the need for this to be all about going on a mission. When I came out with a video, that was a breakout video until it reached over 100 views within a half a day. They had to shut it down because their conference was all about going on missions because of the stats of boys not going on missions. It's amazing how I was inspired. But yet you can see the evil against me to silence my voice and shut me down and destroy me, if not by murder. You must succeed in this lifetime. And so they lie to you. There are basic lies that they keep repeating. That it's the 192nd General Conference. That Joseph Smith was a Christian. That Jesus is our Christ. The Book of Mormon, the keystone of Mormonism, says we are the learning of the Jews. This Sunday, tomorrow, was supposed to be the Sunday school lesson for the Exodus. According to the learning of the Jews, and according to all other religions on the face of the earth, including the origin of the Egyptians, this information in tomorrow's lesson is the most important, and the church replaced it with conference. Mormons are the only persons on the face of the earth who will not get that lesson, unless you come to my channel and go to that playlist series that's on the home page or in the playlist section. Can't miss it. It's the one with the very few views in comparison with what I'm getting now for conference. And so, prophet, seer, revelator, and president of the church, with the keys of Peter. No. Section 107.91. It's the keys of Moses. That is the keys for the presidency of the church. And they lie to you. It's right there in our Doctrine and Covenants. Cook didn't even bring it out. I'm looking ahead for upon this rock I will build my church. Because Cook gets into some stuff that I need to talk about. And I think that one. Is it John's? Yeah, it's in John. God. Matthew didn't have it in there. We tried to get it changed. I tried to get it changed to show the Egyptian coming to it. And so, interesting. I knew they were going to announce a new Relief Society presidency. I've been telling you about it. The biggest of the videos so far is that they're going to have polygamy restored for this conference. And there are people who are upset. I have one comment by a woman in all caps. It's actually representing a family. They have no videos of their own. The church does not practice polygamy and they never will. Oh, you are so naive, guys. You are not paying attention to what's been going on. You do not have a clue. The church got pissed at me when I exposed the sex slavery that's going on in the church. You women do not understand the words over the altar when you got sealed to your spouse, or in some cases spouses, because the first one or two or three didn't work out. You're not listening. You're too caught up in the moment. And then you're not paying attention to what they did in the endowment ceremony. Nelson changed the text of the law of chastity. And he put it in the plural. And he referred to section 132, which replaced Joseph Smith's scriptures on marriage. And instead, I've exposed section 132 was written by Brigham Young. I've gone through his talks and found the linguistic pattern match, confirming what I already knew from the history of the church that has been corrected by me. And you do not understand. You do not correct history with your opinion and bias. You use science and you use forensic investigation. If we can only get other historians to do the same. But the waiting until August 1st, I don't recall that with the 5 years ago one. That seemed kind of strange, but he made sure to emphasize August 1st for this. And I'm not sure why, about the significance of that, and I would have to check to see if it was also said back 5 years ago. But again, there's a reason why my pre-show has on the thumbnail 666 Special Edition. See, 6 goes into 18 3 times. 666. There's a reason why there's also an inverted pentagram. Where does that come from? That's the keystone of the arch of the door of the Salt Lake Temple, the headquarters of the church. And then you see lunar eclipses. Again, if you're new, you have no clue what that's about. And you come on and hate comment. There's a lot of stuff you're missing out on because I've been doing videos for years. But it was the same pattern of selection. The primary president gets chosen to become the Relief Society president again, as the Relief Society president now retires. So that was an interesting similarity pattern. Let's see. Yeah, Ricks. Those of you who are younger, you don't know what I'm talking about. Ricks, what's that? That was my college. My college has been torn down. It is gone. They now call the replacement school Brigham Young University, Idaho. Ricks College is gone from the face of the earth. But I was realizing that those girls attending Ricks are very likely the daughters of many of the girls I knew at Ricks while I was attending. There seem to be a lot of familiar faces. But, yeah. The girls in that choir looked a lot younger than the girls that I attended Ricks with. It's amazing how time youthens people. So yes, a lot of memories came back to me, especially about how I got on a mission. In the previous video review, I explained that the only factor that affected boys, well, I guess going down to 18 from 19 also, that's also a factor, but that was many years ago. But the more recent change to young men, or teenage boys, was the removal of the Boy Scouts, or the fleeing from Boy Scouts to avoid prosecution for criminal liability by the church. And Boy Scouts, as I said in the previous one, was not a factor for me going on my mission. And with the BYU Idaho choir, it reminded me of what did actually get me on my mission. It was a young girl there at Ricks, who I hung out with a lot. And I had no intention, no interest, no inspiration to go on a mission. I was getting away from my family. And Tricia Wingate, one evening, just got up, took me by the hand, and we walked across campus and walked down the one side street there in Idaho. Can't remember the name of it, but there was a house or a building there where she dropped me off and said, go talk to the bishop about going on a mission. I thought I was in trouble for something. Talk to your bishop? Why should I talk to your bishop? Bishops don't really care. But, there's the main street. It is called South 2nd East. Oh. My goodness. Is it? Or did I? No. Wait a minute. Hold on. So there's the temple. So yeah, it should be that street right by the temple. Yeah. South 2nd East. So my grandparents lived up there, and so occasionally I was staying there depending on when it was, before or after the mission. Stayed at the bunkhouse, no longer exists. I stayed in Ensign Apartments. those still exist, but the other one, which was it Rigby Apartments? I think those are gone. I should have kept it up on the screen. And then my Uncle Bert was there. He was there for the woman I chose to marry after my mission instead of the one I should have married. And if I married Leanne, I would have been sealed in the Salt Lake Temple on the 1st of May, 1992. And if you don't know what the significance of that is, you have no idea about the Nauvoo Temple that I've been going over with you for years. Give you a hint. It has to do with the inverted pentagram. But, she was the one who dumped me off. She was trying to get rid of me. And I didn't understand why. I had no romantic interest in her. I just enjoyed her company. Just hanging out, spending time with her. The woman I really had a crush on was her roommate, the redhead, the little redheaded girl. And, but I knew that if I were to go on a mission, that I would never, I'd get Dear John'd. That's almost a guarantee in the church, isn't it? So, yeah, many memories there. So yes, I am one of you. I know all this stuff. I did the research. I used science to find out. And it's because I did that that the church wants me dead. Because Joseph Smith is good and true, as Cook claims, but not as Cook claims. He's good and true for other reasons that Cook does not want you to know about. And so, the main thing is that Mormons are normal people until you start talking religion. And then all of a sudden they get possessed and weird. That's the one thing I've noticed. But I don't know if women know this, but the guys who join choir, they're doing it because there's a girl they're interested in. Or they're hoping that by being in the choir, that girls will be interested in them. And that they can do duets with girls. They can spend time practicing together with you. In case you didn't know. So that's just a tip from an old man. Holland, dear God, he insults Michael Karen. It's like they didn't learn from the Oscars. I thought that would be funny to pick up where the Oscars left off. I thought it would have been funny if Karen got up and slapped Holland. That would have been hilarious. But nonetheless, you notice Karen, he insults Holland back. Dear God. And so Holland makes fun of Joseph Smith as a translator of Egyptian. Did you notice that? It was a 7-year-old girl who he says wrote in Reformed Egyptian. That Reformed Egyptian is 7-year-old kid stuff. Treating it lightly. I did the scientific research. I am the decipherer of Paleo-Hebrew, of the whole entire world. And that led me to be the guy who filled in the blanks in all of the Egyptian sign lists. Facsimile number 1, for example, there's no text there. No Egyptologist translates it. Joseph Smith does in chapter 1 of Abraham. Egyptologists do not understand. How could Joseph Smith translate it? There's nothing to translate. Yeah, I figured it out through science. and the church wants me dead. Because they say Joseph Smith is not a translator. Did you notice what was missing from section 107, verse 92? There's prophet, seer, revelator. President was in verse 91, which is Moses' keys. What did they leave out? What did Oakes leave out? Translator. They say that Joseph was just a revelator. Well, there's already revelator. Joseph Smith distinguishes the two. And the church will not acknowledge Joseph as a translator. And I have done the scientific research to show Joseph is, by doing what no one else has ever done. None of the PhDs in their field have done. I did it. And so Holland finally comes out and confesses that the pandemic is biblical based. From the Exodus, by the way, in case you didn't know, which they are purposely leaving out for your lesson in Sunday school. It's called Creeping Death by Metallica. There's some awesome videos from the movies with the music. And it came out before Master of Puppets, which came out in 1986, before the April conference in which Benson gave his To the Youth of the Noble Birthright. Just so that you know. But to have the president or an apostle of the church be the one to finally admit it after it's been going on for over 2 years. Dear God, what part of Amos 3:7 did you interpret as waiting until after the lion eats you that you warn the people about? How could you miss that from Amos 3:7? You've got to warn before the danger. And there was only one person in the whole church that was doing that. And if you can't figure out who it was, dear God, people. And so, yes, Joseph Smith knew of it too. Section 45, verse 31. The apocalyptic revelation parable given by Joseph Smith. Do you understand that apocalyptic literature is not real? They use figurative characters as symbols. And so Joseph Smith was doing that for section 45. So it's not Jerusalem, it is not the Jerusalem temple, it is not the Jews, it is not Jesus. You have to place in the encoded names and places. I'll give you a hint. It involves the great and abominable church and the man like Moses, after the learning of the Jews, Christ. Again, the church history with Nephi, talking about the Egyptian gold plates and quoting apocalyptic scripture. And it's the one that's from the New Testament, whereas all the others are from the Old Testament, which was a specific clue for us to go, hey, why is this the only one in the New Testament? Why doesn't he refer to Matthew chapter 24, for example? Yeah, well, what is in Acts? Oh, it refers to an Old Testament one. Ta-da! And he says that that man is the Christ. The learning of the Jews, Christ. Give you a hint, It's the man like Moses. But they don't want you to know this. They want you distracted with Jesus. And so Holland is also the one that has embraced the psychological frauds of the world. He's embraced psychology to claim that he wants people to see psychologists for mental illness. Mental illness, or the psychology, is a fraud. It does not use science. They are anti-science. They are in defiance and in denial of science. They use fallacy for their arguments. And yet they have been given great power across this nation to be drug pushers and to be expert witnesses in court trials. And very dangerous and destructive people. But he says that Jesus can help you instead with your mental illnesses. So from one fraud to another. And if you don't understand how Jesus is a fraud, again, you don't study. You read the first vision and you just brush it by. You don't even bother to Google search. What was the first creed of Christianity? And why is that an abomination? Because Constantine chose Jesus, and it's not whatever the word is, it's wrong. There is no translation for it. Constantine made it up. It's Homoousius, referred to as Homoousian because of its position in the sentence. Because the Wikipedia page has the Greek for you to look at and confirm. There were a whole bunch of apocalyptic literature heroes to choose from with different names, like Hercules, Perseus, Moses, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph. Constantine chose Jesus, and then referred to him as a literal, historical person, pulling an anachronism, and then gave him the nature and character that no one else could agree on, so Constantine made one up. He's Homoousion. It has no meaning. The best we can come up with is it's not real. That is the definition. Not real. You can also say supernatural, but with all the comic book heroes, we tend to think that supernatural is real. And so thus it is an abomination, because it's not real. And the lie is that people are believing it's real. And so Holland gets on people's cases to quit being negative. Suggesting that we be positive. This is the fallacy of false dichotomy. You only have two choices. You either are positive or you're negative. The glass is either half full or half empty. When you learn this trick by psychologists, you can say that the Rorschach test, looks like a pleasant, peaceful valley with happy family members all loving and playing and cheering and smiling, and you cross a hill and you see a home. You go inside the home. What do you see? Oh, I see a family huddled together, reading happy stories of their life together and the memories they've shared, and they're so happy together. Yeah, that'll convince them that you're doing just fine. Because if you start saying, I see a man with a mask and he's got a knife in his hand and everything's dark and it's cold, then you're going to freak them out. And they're going to want to put you in a straitjacket and they're going to want to drug you. This is the fallacy argument that they've trapped you with. They are evil people. But once you know their tricks, it's easy to play around with them. And so Holland was suicide shaming. Shame on him. People commit suicide because of external factors. Those external factors need to be fixed in a person's life. But they're not getting fixed, and the person sees no way to have them fixed. Shame on you, Holland. God damn you, Holland. How dare you? Okay. So, missionary service. The 170 after Holland, or after Karen, used obedience to God, loyalty to God, faith in God, etc., etc. When you hear him talk about what his faith and loyalty and obedience to God was, you realize it was to the church, not to God. Because other religions can do the exact same thing he does, but in their religion. So you can see the trap he was trying to set for Mormons, trying to have the church associated with God. And so what he was really saying is you need to obey the church. You need to follow the church. You need to be obedient to the church. And thus you'll be prosperous and get a better wife than the one that all the other guys wanted before your mission. Interestingly enough, the little redheaded girl was shy. I didn't know of any guy that was pursuing her. But yeah, I really liked her. And so yeah, when Tricia would bring her along as a third wheel, I didn't mind. It was before my mission. And so Irene, oh my goodness, he's far gone than I realized. So Clint Eastwood's Deadpool, Dirty Harry. Yeah, he's more likely on that list, as we are in a tetrad. And again, you guys are not keeping up on the signs in the heavens for the latter days. This is it. And Holland came out and confessed that, hey, the latter days biblical proportion is here. He has exposed that is it, and that the prophets failed to notify us in advance of it. And they made billions off of us from it. But yeah, Irene hobbled and tripped. So with the the new guys at the end, Gong and Soars, Chinese and Brazilian. And I've been watching my videos on a regular basis. You will not understand what I'm referring to with those. But Gong, he went and pulled the family first. That's the white supremacist term. And he tied it to missionaries. His family story about how missionaries interacted with his family. You notice that? So again, missionary. They are hurting for young men to go on missions. The other 70 after him, he's talking about having doubts about Jesus and the church. Yeah, you should. 19 July 1840. With the first vision correctly understood from the first creed of Christianity. And then the other 70 after him talked about change as repentance. Good. You didn't do the Hebrew version, which is turn. He only did the Greek one. And so Cook, again, emphasized missions, summarizing all those who talked about missions. And then the Joseph Smith Papers, declaring that the church narrative that has already been exposed as false, he's claiming it's true and confirmed by the Joseph Smith Papers. Like I said, fact check them. You're going to be horrified. And I keep warning you, the more brainwashed you are by the church, the greater will be your fall and faith crisis. Like I said, warning, 19 July 1840. It will be more shocking than the shock you will receive from 17 March 1842. And so, yeah, Book of Mormon, he's just lying, outright lying, trying to convince you that the Joseph Smith Papers does not expose the church. Joseph Smith exposed the church. The truth is in the Joseph Smith Papers. And that's why they had the people they had do it, is to keep it from us. And only the rich can afford to pay for the books, and the rest of us have to go searching through thousands and thousands of documents to find the gems that expose that the church now is a fraud. That section 115's name for the church is a prophecy, that he gives the actual name after the church falls. Go over it, I think, can't we? Got the scriptures up on the screen. And verse 3, and also unto my faithful servants who are of the high council. High council? The stake high council? Of my church in Zion. Whose church? For thus it shall be called. My church in Zion. We need the fall of the great and abominable church in order to have an exodus. We need the exodus in order to get to Zion. We need Zion so we can have a place of safety, refuge, and peace. That is the name of his church in Zion, which it shall be called when it is restored. But, for thus shall my church be called in the latter days before Zion, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Again, the Joseph Smith Papers reveals the true name of Joseph's church. It was the Church of Christ, and then in 1834, the leaders voted to change it to the Church of Latter-day Saints. Well, there's no Jesus in it. Yeah, go figure. So, yeah. Oh, I was going to go over, that's why I had it on the other. he tries to claim that there's an extra Joseph Smith translation that is not in our Joseph Smith translation. I checked. It's the passage in John 5:29. He's claiming that damnation means unjust. And the Greek word is Christos. And it means condemnation. And most other churches have that. The New Living Translation has rise to experience judgment instead of condemnation. But our King James Version of the Bible is the only one left not correctly translated. And he went over it. We believe the Bible to be the Word of God as far as it is translated correctly. And they won't get it translated correctly. They don't care about translation. And yet Cook was saying, oh, look how great Joseph is as a translator. When they drop translator from all the prophets, which only Nelson is supposed to have prophet, seer, revelator, and translator. That's in our scriptures even. Section 107, verse 91 and 92. And then there's the other part later on, that Hiram is also prophet, seer, revelator, but instead of translator, he's patriarch, replacing his father who had died. They will not tell you these things. And so, here's one that I tried to have put in the second version of the footnote changes. And it's from John chapter 42, because the Matthew version didn't have it in the footnotes, but I tried to get it put in the footnotes. And it says, and he brought him to Jesus, and when Jesus beheld him, he said, Thou art Simon, the son of Jonah. Thou shalt be called Cephas, which is by interpretation a stone. And it doesn't say Peter there, does it? Until you get to verse 44. Now Philip was of Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. And so the Matthew one includes Peter. And so in verse 42a, under Cephas, you see the footnote, GR for Greek, stone, pebble. That's incorrect. Cephas is Aramaic. Stone would be the Greek that they should have put that for. But Joseph Smith translation was added at this point. John 1:42. Cephas, which is, by interpretation, a seer or a stone. And they were fishermen, and they straightway left all and followed Jesus. Peter is seer in Egyptian. If you want more stuff, Mary is Egyptian for beloved. Behold, my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. My Son of Mary, in whom I am well pleased. You want more Egyptian? The shoelaces I am unworthy to latch. That's the Egyptian Ankh. I can keep going. Amen, the man like Moses, that's his actual name. The Egyptian sun god at noonday. Etc., etc., etc. Joseph Smith is a translator, but not the manner in which Cook tells you. And so, almost 1 hour again, so I'm going to have to again transfer over. So I have to figure out a thumbnail and transfer that over too.